1935 Texas. An inspector and a policeman roll up to your storefront and tell you, shut her down. What's that? Shut her down. I'm not following. You got to shut down your store here. Oh, excuse me. And you retreat back, grab your rifle, aim it at them, and tell them to get the hell off your property. See, society, we've been boiled like a frog. We are now accepting of our liberty being taken away in a manner that prior generations never, ever would. Our freedoms are slowly ebbing away from us. Our constitutionally protected Bill of Rights is the one thing that is standing between us and the authoritarians. The same authoritarians that want to shut down religious services in New York City while allowing other businesses to stay open.
Who allows one entity to be treated differently than another entity?
I'll tell you who. They're the leftists. The same people that support massive protests on the streets, massive Black Lives Matter protests, and saying that this is not unscientific, that this will not succumb to the virus because the virus is woke and will certainly not be affecting those woke, intelligent people that are out there en masse. However, they've got to shut down services from the Jews, from the Christians, from the Muslims. They're not allowed to practice their religion, but Black Lives Matter is because the lefty religion reigns supreme. That is unequal treatment under the law. Today, people are supporting mandatory shutdowns in many of these lefty strongholds. These people that are losing their businesses and allowing people to control their movements, all on the basis of fear. Not that the virus isn't real. It very well is. However, you can take your own precautions and the government should allow you to decide what is best for yourself, to protect yourself. And if you need help, I'm more than willing, if you have a comorbidity, if you're fat, if you're old, I'm more than willing for tax dollars to go in to help protect you. But now we have people shutting down their businesses and they are demanding money from the government. So the government is printing money, getting them used to the spigot of wealth coming from the government rather than you being self-reliant. And people are now no longer wishing to work because they're getting paid more by the government. And what this does is it devalues the dollar. If you've saved, if you put aside money, then all that money that you've saved, gone. 23.6% of all US dollars in circulation have been printed this year. This is a massive, massive printing press and a massive destruction of the wealth that is saved. Who does this benefit? The big corporations. Most of these corporations are in major debt. You take a look at a company like Kraft Heinz, which has a balance sheet with lots and tons of debt. And guess what? When you print money and then you start going and flowing into their coffers, as it invariably does, for example, you shut down the small businesses, the small restaurant owner, they're going to buy more Kraft Heinz products at the grocery stores that are allowed to stay open, like Walmart or from Amazon. All these businesses that are taking away, it's a massive transfer of wealth from the small businesses that are forced to shut down. I have a friend in Vancouver, Washington, who has a gymnasium, and rather than keeping people healthy and happy, they are forcing him to shut down because of the pandemic. 2 weeks to flatten the curve. That was the original supposition. That was the original way that they got everybody to attend to their desires, to shut things down. We all said, fine, no problem. Then it was 6 weeks. Now, what is it, 8 months later, 9 months later, we're still doing the same thing. We're still acquiescing and giving up our livelihoods, our sanity to the authoritarians because they are scaring us. The time to stand up is now. In New York the other day, they were trying to close down a restaurant that was on the border of the orange and red zones, and because it was one block in the wrong direction, the restaurant owner was forced to shut down.
All right, I'm out here in front of Max Public House, 130 Lincoln Avenue, being raided by the fucking sheriff's department, okay? This tiny little place trying to make a fucking living, okay? 350 people in an airplane, thousands of planes, okay? This close to each other. Costco's open, Home Depot, people lined up, backed up with each other. This guy can't open his fucking business. It's shame on you fucking people. Shame on everybody for letting this fucking happen. There should be 1,000 people out here right now while they're getting fucking raided by the goddamn Gestapo. Tomorrow is Wednesday at 6 o'clock. p.m., I want this fucking street shut down with 10,000 fucking people. Because if we don't show up and show fucking face, we're gonna lose this whole fucking battle. Disgusting. You should all be fucking disgusted with yourselves. If they fear you, they won't fuck with you. You understand what I'm saying? Get the fuck out here tomorrow night, Wednesday. Tomorrow night, 6 o'clock, in front of Max Public House. This is disgusting.
Well, people said no more, and they went and they supported the local business. This is what we have to do. We have to stand up to the authoritarians. It is our lives, and we decide how we live it. The government cannot come into your 1935 Texas store and tell it to shut down, because we have individual liberties that are protected by the Constitution. The same is not true in Australia. For example, in September, somebody went out for a walk. When she came home, the police were waiting for her because they had some system of tracking her, or somebody ratted on her, and she was arrested and paid a $1,600 fine. She wasn't arrested, she was just fined $1,600 Australian dollars. That's a spicy meatball for virtually anybody, but they are allowed to do so because the same liberties are not offered to the rest of the world, and this is what the left is trying to do, is they are trying to burn slowly down our Constitution and take away our civil liberties. And this is why, where before I did not used to be an advocate of the Second Amendment, I didn't understand why people wanted to have guns. With them shutting down the police, with them abolishing the police or defunding them. And now you are seeing in Minnesota right now, there's a 500% increase in carjackings because they're less likely to be caught. And criminals, like everybody else, work along with incentives and de-incentive. And it's a major de-incentive if you think there's a possibility, hey, if I kill somebody, if I arrest, if I go and carjack somebody, I might get caught. But with less police around, guess what? The incentive goes down, crime, the incentives rise, de-incentives decrease, crime escalates. Bravo, Minnesota. This is what happens when you interfere with what sort of works. This is why you don't want massive changes to a system that is functional, because you aren't aware, or you're too stupid to be able to predict the outcomes that are going to take place from doing so. We've got to resist these shutdowns, these lockdowns, because the same politicians that are calling for them aren't even following their own mandates. You just take a look at Gavin Newsom, who went to the French Laundry restaurant, one of the most expensive in the world, and his party racked up a $15,000 wine bill for a party of 22 after he said no more than, I believe it was 10 people allowed to congregate and meet, but he goes out because the rules don't apply to him. Then he tried to say that it was outdoors. Photos found that it was indoors. You are caught, you lying son of a bitch. And it's not only Gavin Newsom. You take a look at the mayor of San Francisco, London Breed, I believe is her name. She also decreed, hey, don't go out to eat. She went out to eat. Then you have the mayor of Denver, the mayor of San Jose. All these people, lefty Democrats, who say, you've got to follow these rules, but do they? No, because the rules don't apply to them. This is what individual liberty is, that we are all given the same ability to make decisions for ourselves. This is the beauty of America, and this is why we have to stand up in the face of this tyranny and go out and protect the New York restaurant that flies in the face of these mandated shutdowns from these authoritarian thugs who are using fear to control your actions. This is the left that wants to give women freedom of choice in terms of an abortion, that is absolutely necessary because that's their body. Yet they demand that you wear a mask. It's okay to kill a baby that is inside of you. They don't recognize that as a human life, but you must wear a mask. You must shut down your business. Where is the freedom of choice there? The hypocrisy is what bothers me. It's one thing if somebody says, I want the government to decide absolutely everything for me. I'm a stupid person. I just want other people to decide, like we are in 1984 and we've got Big Brother at the helm. Okay, at least you're consistent there. I'm too stupid to stand up for myself. I'm too stupid to have an individual thought. But when you have the hypocrisy from the same people that go out to eat after demanding and voting against restaurants like Sheila Cole, I believe his name is, in Los Angeles, that voted to shut down outdoor dining at restaurants after these places that were so close on the verge of closing, invested in all the necessary equipment that they would need to have outdoor dining. They then shut them down because they are fear mongers, because they are telling you how to behave, even with unproven science. That is the worst part about it. They say follow the science, yet they want the schools to remain shut down. And this is going to negatively affect students and young people in ways that we don't understand, because they are not interacting with each other, because they are staying home, and they definitely aren't learning on these Zoom calls. The only children that are the parents that are standing over them and making sure that they pay attention to their school work. And those are few and far between, because maybe they're drinking, maybe they're on opioids, because they are depressed, because they are not allowed to go to the gym, because they are forced to stay home. This is sickening. This is about not giving up our freedom. This is about not being boiled like that frog in the pot, where we can go back and recognize that we are like that 1935 store owner in Texas. And we say, you want to shut me down? You do not have that right. That we have the right to stand up to authority. That the government cannot manufacture consent by slowly boiling away our freedoms, by slowly boiling away our liberties. Stand up for your liberties. Do not listen to these authoritarian hypocrites that want to shut you down. Thank God that there are people like Ron DeSantis of Florida who has resisted, like the governor of South Dakota, who have resisted these draconian lockdowns, and their states are no worse than the others, because the lockdowns don't work in any other form other than shutting down business and sending their money to the big corporations. And that is the crime. The rich, the elite, are getting wealthier. My shares in Walmart have risen, and it makes me sad. It makes me disgusted, because it is at the expense of the small business owner. It is at the expense of the saver who has put their money aside for years and years and years. And now, because of this, they will not have the same buying power. And the United States dollar will cease to be the world's reserve currency. There is going to be a tremendous lack of faith, because you cannot continue to print money, and you cannot continue to shut people down and rob them of their freedoms. And the time to stand up is now. Peace and blessings. I hope you got something out of this. If you did, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all notifications, thumb up the video. Most of all, have a great, great day, and stand up for your freedoms. Peace out.